Keondria was like, journal, what does that mean? Journal, what do I journal? Go ahead, Keondria, take it away.
Yes, yes. So exactly right. So it was like, what do I journal, right? So that's when I just began to write down everything because I had no idea where to start or what even to write, right? So I just wrote down everything. Everything, and the things that really resonated with me were the conversations that we had in class, right? So it was those side conversations that we were having in class that I was having with the other students as well. And then the things that I was reading, and I was just seeing these from a different perspective because I was reading all of these things. And then in the midst of it all, right? So I journaled everything, journaled my feelings. I journaled the things I was reading. I journaled the things that were resonating with me. I journaled the things that weren't resonating with me, like this isn't working, right? So when you asked me if I was doing the Bildungsroman, right? And I was like, no, that doesn't even make sense. I don't even know what that is, right? And you're like, no, I think you need to think about that. So then I wrote down Bildungsroman and started reading all the things that I could about Bildungsroman. And then found this really amazing article that informed, Black women and using the coming of age stories and all of that, right? So it was the things that I didn't know, right? So when you don't know what you don't know, you just kind of oblivious to it. So I wrote down all of those things, all of the things that I needed to read more about, the terminology that we were talking about, my feelings, how I was navigating this whole thing. I wrote down every single thing that I could because I knew I would forget it in that moment, right? So in that moment, it was as if we were having these conversations, but when I went to sit to write it, it just left me, right? So I had to write it down because I would forget everything that just happened, all the feelings of this, oh, yes, I can write this, and this is what it's supposed to sound like. And then when I sat down to write it, nothing happened. And it was like, but what, I just had all of these thoughts in my head. How can I do that? And so I wrote down everything. Every single thing I started to write down. Every single thing. Even if it didn't make sense at that time, you go back and reflect on it, and you may get a nugget of wisdom from it later on. But every single thing I wrote down.
We have a question. So Debbie Lee says, how can I incorporate what I journal into my final dissertation? Will this be useful in the findings or discussion, or is it more useful as theorizing as I go along? Do you want to answer that? And then I will chime in as well.
Both and.
Yep.
Yes. Absolutely. So, and then Deborah Williams says reflexivity section. Absolutely. So as you are journaling, you're reading so many things. You have these things in your head, right, on this side that you're thinking about. Then you're housing emotions on this side. Then you're housing, my dissertation and what that looks on this side. Then you're housing the conversation that I had, and I'm trying to remember the thing on this side. And then you have the to-do list, and then the grocery list, and then if you have children, you're worried about their schedules, and then, right, so all of these things that you are trying to work out, compartmentalize in your head, they need to be on paper. That is the only way that you will really get a good, deep understanding of what it is you're reading, what it is that you are encountering when you really write it down and begin to write around it, right? So what you're thinking and what you're doing and how it's making sense for you, or how it's not making sense for you. Yeah, so capture everything. Dr. Bachar, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to add to what you said is, yes, I agree with Keondria that definitely both, Deborah, the question that you asked, definitely both. What you probably will find is as you journal, and depends on how deeply you journal and what you're journaling, as you journal, the things, the insights that come up for you can be embedded all throughout your dissertation. Perhaps journaling gives you a deeper understanding of theory. Perhaps it helps you sort out the head notes you have during, data collection, data analysis, and trying to figure out how to write this up. Perhaps journaling allows you to understand, like, what is the implication for your field, and how am I going to raise certain questions in the field, or what's next for your future studies. So it's not like it can only stay here and you can bracket that under reflexivity and say, I have just journaled this and here's my journal and therefore I got this. It'll probably be something that can inform any and all parts of your study. And so when you are reading things, you want to be in dialogue with the author, whoever's work that you're reading. You want to be in dialogue with the author. So you want to not just say, they said this and therefore this is now correct and this is now an authority. You want to take something that somebody has said and you want to, like, maybe pull out certain things that are resonating with you or have like a high charge for you emotionally. And you want to start, reflecting on why you have a high charge. Is it because it's reinforcing something? Is it because it's in conflict with something? Is it because you think it's absolutely racist and ludicrous?